Welcome to another episode of Practically Happy.
We have another guest today.
Yes, we have the lovely Mel on the podcast today. You have come up maybe a couple times now on our podcast.
Come up a couple times on the podcast.
That's the influence.
I've only heard one time, but I'm excited. I'm flattered. I'm really flattered.
You had told me to be a lot more intuitive with my readings, generally, on the pod and otherwise. And I think that's the first time we brought you up in the podcast. And ever since, you've kind of had like a little spiritual place in every tarot reading that we've had on the podcast since. At least in my brain, when I'm just like, don't over-intellectualize this reading. Don't over-intellectualize this reading.
That's really
Too much
cool.
pressure.
You know what's funny is a lot of people consider me to be a spiritual advisor. But I was never, I don't like to call myself anything really, but people now call me a spiritual advisor because the things that they receive in the readings, they've sort of seen them come alive, right? And they're like, oh my God, like you said this small thing and it became this really big thing for me. And now I'm doing this and now I'm doing that. So it's really interesting.
Mel is a digital creator, body positive, self-esteem, and alignment coach. She's one of the most empowering and spiritually attuned people I know.
Oh my God.
Whose guidance I and Cole and others have cherished. And I know that because of personal experience and the experience of people like my partner and your partner who have been blessed by readings with Mel, tarot readings. She's made significant shifts in others' creative journeys for the better. So we are thrilled to welcome her on to the Practically Happy podcast, where we discuss creative living through a spiritual lens.
Yay. I'm so happy to be here. So I don't even know what to say about myself now that you said all of that.
I wanted to give you a little introduction because
Thank you. It's amazing.
I think the other time that you came up on the podcast was some advice that I was given during one of our readings together was that I should cleanse my space before and after spiritual rituals, which has been like a nice way for me to open and close my own spiritual practices and getting into my intuition more. So I did light some sage. You can probably smell it in the apartment before you came here today.
There's also every time we've recorded a podcast, you've cleansed.
Yeah, I consider this a spiritual practice now. So that's...
Well, essentially everything is, right? If we take away from religion and we take away from like labeling it, right? We all are spiritual beings. We all exist internally. There's things that we hold on to. We need to let go. We need to grow. And there's things like that. And wherever we are, whatever we practice really affects how we feel inside and how we may think. So when we start with cleansing something or we start with removing anything else other than ourselves and what's going on with us, we then create a space for us to exist and prosper and work. So it isn't everything I do. I say things, I pray over my lotions. When I do my son's hair, I'm singing certain things from certain gospel songs from my mother. Like there's spiritual things in everything I do, but I wouldn't be considered incredibly religious. It's really about like setting a tone for how I'm going to internally feel. Whatever else is going on outside or wherever I'm at, I can control what's happening with me and what I'm doing and where I'm at. So that's a good way to start just getting rid of the muck from everything else and then just staying within yourself, focusing on yourself and sort of going from there.
I think one of the questions that we wanted to ask you was around like where creativity plays a role in your spiritual practices.
So everything I do is sort of like, it starts with an idea and it goes off of how I feel. It's funny because when I was in college, like undergrad, I was way more creative in my 20s. And then I'm back being creative again in my 30s because my son is 8 now. So it's a time for motherhood, a time to focus on him. And so before him, I was really creative. And my friends used to say, what are you listening to today? Like music, like what are you listening to? And I'm like, I kind of just listen to anything with a beat depending on how I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. And it also influences how I'm dressing and this was in my 20s. So it's the same thing, a little less crazy, but I sort of go throughout what I'm doing and I'm like, today I'm going to go to the park with my son. And it's like, oh, do you want to play football at the park? Do you want to do that? You want to do that? You want to make it a thing? And then we create like this whole game that we're going to do. This whole plan. And it starts from one idea on like a song or something around me. I'm inspired like that. And then and then it just opens up a whole world of creativity. Now, if we're focusing in like on social media, that's a whole different story. Now I'm just having fun with things.
It looks like it.
If
you follow.
I'm having a good time. So my tarot is on TikTok. And then
oh my gosh, I need to go on TikTok.
I'm going to make my way to Instagram back. So I started out on Instagram during COVID reading. And then I sort of needed to do dancing. So I've always danced since I was younger, but I went through a real mental breakdown. Like I have a mental health diagnosis that was misdiagnosed at one point, right? And it was really difficult. It was traumatic. And when I came out of it, I didn't feel like myself internally, mentally, nothing. And the only thing that kept me sort of like focused or figuring out was music. Yeah. So I put on a lot of music. I put on a lot of dancing. And it was really hard. I was crying a lot. But moving myself made me... It's like tapping back into your own psyche. It's a real holistic process. That's a real creative process. And I decided to hit record one day. And I would just dance to escape whatever I was feeling. And then from there, as I started feeling better, I started dancing just because. And I was like, other people could probably use this, right? They could probably feel something from this. And it became like a thing. But it just started with the idea, something I needed. I was influenced by music. I'm influenced by music a lot in everything I do. And then I started creating and telling a story with it. And that exists in every platform, whether I'm doing a different medium or poetry or whatever. I always start with an idea, with a song. Like, I'm very emotional. It doesn't look like it though, but I'm very emotional. We were talking
about star signs. You're like Cancer, right?
I'm a Cancer.
You're a Cancer.
Yeah. But I have like a trippy chart. So I have a Capricorn moon.
Okay.
Which is my sister's
also the Capricorn moon.
Yeah. Do you know how it's a support group? We need one for the Capricorn moons. Like, it's so trippy. I never understood.
It's like, there's a lot of emotions under the surface, but it's also my job to not be that right now.
It is, yes. Oh my God. And as a Cancer, I need to be that. I need to do that. But also, Capricorn is my sister sign. So it is it's the mother and father of the zodiac in one place, man. So it's like,
I see.
wow, like life is hard. And it's like, but you have stuff to do that thing, and then cry about it later. So I'm always like this battle with my mind and my emotions. Yeah. And it's like Capricorns are emotional but very logical.
Oh, yeah.
Like very, does this make sense? And then Cancers are like, it doesn't need to make sense because I said it doesn't. It doesn't matter. It makes sense later. I need to let it go. Like, that's how it is. So I'm always at this battle. So when I was going through things, I was like at battle with myself. And I was like, what do I create? What do I want to create? But my rising sign is Aquarius. So I've been living in Aquarius energy for a while now. I've been having a great time in Aquarius energy. And a lot of
your son's in Aquarius too. That's something we have in common as well.
Yeah. And my son is also, like, I could do a whole podcast on him, but he's also very creative.
I'm sure Aquarius energy.
He's so creative, and he creates without trying. I'm like, this is so great. He's like, of course it is. Like
that delusional confidence is also something like, I don't know where I got it from.
Everything he does is amazing.
Kids don't really have like the inhibition yet of just like, you're just going to create something. You have no reason to not to yet. So just like, you have an idea, it'll just happen.
It does. So ironically, as his mother, that's what I do. I have an idea it was usually based off of a music or an emotion, and then I create something from that. So he does the same thing, just without any influence except himself, which is really cool. I'm inspired by him, and he doesn't even care. He's really great at everything he does, and I'm like, you're really great. And he goes, I guess, it's thanks. But he's not easy to impress. He's like I share with him the things I'm doing on social media. Not too much of it, because it's adult stuff. But he sees the numbers and he's like, okay, you got 11,000 people. Do you have 1 million yet? And I'm like,
he's like, okay. Yeah, I've seen some slime content. So it's got more views than you.
Yeah, he's hard to impress. I'm like, wow. And I'm like, mommy's a model, mommy's in this. And he's like, okay, so you're on a website so people know where you are. They can see you. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, this I can get by. Like, this is something. I guess it's a new generation, but he's all about people really paying attention to you for a purpose. He does not want any attention unless he deems it necessary or there's something for you to pay attention to, which is very Aquarius energy. Yeah. He's a very Aquarius. And so I've been in that energy, like, you know, free flowing, like people paying attention to what I'm doing without really telling you what I'm doing, without trying to fill in a box or be in a niche or things like that. And it's hard to be like that. You know, it's really hard. But that's like basically what I do these days. I'm just having fun, having a good time.
Do you think because I was originally the one who posed this question. This was like kind of the first question I had in mind when I wanted to dig at your practice a little bit, was like, what creative angles do you take in your practice? And it's kind of cool to like hear that you've moved into, I used the word inhibitions before, but like kind of like trusting what comes to you a little bit more. Am I right in kind of hearing that part?
So this is where Abby said I'm in alignment, right? Yeah. I'm finally in alignment with my purpose. Yeah. And my purpose is I'm like a spiritual guide for people, but I'm also that for myself. Yeah. I motivate myself. I inspire myself, and this could sound vain depending on who's listening, but we've had vain points in the podcast. Who I uplift myself all the time.
You need to be able to do it for yourself to be able to uplift other people. So I think that's just basic.
But I wasn't believing it, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't believing it. And people would say nice things about me all the time, and I would just be like, really? No. Or not take a compliment. And now I'm in alignment with understanding that like I have a purpose to, you know, instill like awakenings in others and make them see themselves, because I see myself. I see myself very deeply. Like no matter what's going on, I'm like, who is Mel? Who is she? What is this? Like mental health, boo, tomatoes. Like that's not me.
Tomatoes.
I'm going through this. Yes, I have this with me, but this is not defining me. It's just something else that is added onto who I already was. Like I'm very self-aware, which is alignment, like understanding how you feel, think, and see things. So in everything I do, it all is the same thing. Like, and it started with my spiritual content. So I'm on TikTok under Erica's Intuition _ 1 _ because there are frauds, right? I was like, I've made it. There are frauds. Like, so I have almost 12K followers, and I'm plugging myself, guys. That page I started because came into my gifts, and I was like, I love music. So I channel a lot, and I use cards sometimes, and I tell a story based on the music I'm hearing, and then the message comes out from spirit with me. That is my creative thing that I never thought about. It just made sense.
It just comes.
It wasn't a purpose. And my readings have changed depending on how my gifts have grown, right? So I may be channeling more now because I don't need cards, or I feel comfortable, receiving message from spirit in this space. And then that space is incredibly popular. That is where my clientele comes from. That's where
it's a vibe.
It's a vibe over there. I go live over there.
Yeah.
I do live readings there. So I start with free yes or no questions. I do it like once a week if I can. And then people do mini reads with me, which they pay for. It's like 2 small questions, and then they'll book with me separately. So I have that channel, that page is where I never thought about anything. And this was 3 years ago. So I'm like back in alignment. I fell out of alignment. Now I'm back in alignment. And it just came up with an idea. I used the music to inspire me. And I just completely went there with that. This other page is more about telling my story as a plus size woman who's been through things, who's told she shouldn't do things because whatever reason. And my spiritual, no one can tell me how to be with spirit, but spirit. You could try, but no one can tell us how we're supposed to share messages from spirit or a higher power. So that page is like really free flowing over there. Like, and it's I try the least over there. I don't want to say I don't try with dancing, but dancing is it's hard. It's a little harder. It's a little, how are people going to receive me? That I was like,
it's more vulnerable
and more scared. Now I'm in alignment with both pages. Now I just am inspired by a song. I feel it. I let my body move through it. I post it. I don't care when I post it. I have a schedule, but I'm not so. So my tarot page and now my Instagram we're all speaking the same language.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wait, what would you say to folks if they're like more interested in getting in touch with their intuition and finding this alignment? Do you have like a process or like advice for people that are more interested in moving in that direction in their lives?
Yeah. So you have to ask yourself, like, what is it that makes you tick, right? What is it that makes you tick when you're working, like spiritually? Like, what is it that you don't like about yourself? You have to really, I would say it's shadow work, but it's not just that. It's literally like being self-aware and going from there. Like, how much do you know yourself? And then how much do you like yourself, right? Can you be alone with yourself? Can you sit alone? Can you like just be in front of your mirror naked? Can you do that? Do you like what you see? Do you believe what you see? Do you believe what you say? Like it's obviously not going to happen overnight. It's a process, but it's like really getting to know yourself at a deeper internal level, and then trusting that when you sit in front of your mirror and you're like, I really think I look great, and then someone's like, you're ugly, and you're like, that's what you think. I don't think that. Like, that's how you trust your intuition. It's just a metaphor, but it's like you get an idea, you get a gut feeling, and it's like, okay, I know this is coming from me. I know this is deeper. This is happening. I know. And someone's like, no, you should do this. No. You shouldn't do that. And you're like, actually, no, because I know how I usually feel, and I feel pretty good about it. But it comes from a place of asking yourself, do you trust yourself? Do you know yourself? Do you believe in yourself? And it's not like, do you believe you're going to be famous? It's like, do you believe in Abby?
Right. Are you in integrity?
Like, are you happy with Abby? Not everybody's going to like Abby, but what would you want people to say about you? Right? Mm-hmm. And do you agree? Right? Mm-hmm. And do you agree? And then these are the things, like you called me an angel. Big deal. Very big deal. I was like, wow, how do I live up to that? But a lot of people call me that.
No lie.
No
lie.
It's the influence you have in people's lives.
That's a big deal, though. That's a crazy. That's
sure. I'm saying it as it is, though.
But I was like, you know what? Thank you. Like,
yeah, take it.
Thank you. But I could have been like, oh my God, don't ever say that again about me. How dare you? This is not true. You're an angel, Cole. You're an angel. If I wasn't secure with myself and I didn't trust myself and believe that I could be an angel or that people perceive me as an angel, then I would never be able to trust my own intuition, right? It's things like that. Like, how do you sit with yourself and believe what you're saying? Like, are you buying what you're selling? Especially if you're in a creative job, like, are you buying what you're selling?
Huge.
Right? And it's not monetary. It's like, you're putting this out. Are you shit talking yourself? Are you, who is this? Like, are you really this artist? Are you playing games? Right? So that's how you get rid of imposter syndrome. Right? And we all have it. But that baby steps in understanding, it starts from your core first, then going from there.
That's something I've been thinking about a lot. Actually, I mentioned this to you. It's just like how to know that I'm living in integrity. But I wanted to ask you, when you're channeling messages, do you feel like it comes from that deeper internal, like, I know this inside place, or is it more like downloaded outside from
Absolutely
the inside
not.
through you?
It's very complicated.
Okay. Take me through it.
Sorry, everyone.
No.
I can't tell you. So,
well,
I could.
Can you try?
I can. So it comes from both places.
Okay.
This is where you have to know your own voice now. This is very true. So I'm clairaudient. Which
clairaudient.
I am.
Okay, I haven't heard this term.
I've been saying clairvoyant. I'm so sorry.
I am clairvoyant too, which we'll talk about later if we want to. But
okay.
Let's get into it.
I am clairaudient.
Okay, can we give that a definition for the
clairaudient is when you have the ability to hear from other things besides yourself.
Okay.
It is often confused with schizophrenia, but it's not schizophrenia.
I see.
Right? Schizophrenia is usually in a really scary place. Things that aren't there, right? And things don't really relate to you. Mostly when you're clairaudient, things relate to your life or those around you. It's a psychic gift, often known as mediumship as well. You need to be clairaudient to be a medium.
Got you. Okay.
You do.
That makes sense.
Now there's different forms of mediumship, and some people that are clairaudient don't practice mediumship. They don't. But when you channel in what you're hearing and you're allowing it into, like, you're receiving it, right? You open yourself up to other energies, which then people will say, I'm a medium. I'm getting this energy from another place. I'm giving this. Clairaudient, it could be like this, right? I could be sitting here and I could be like doing a reading for you. And it's like, you're getting married soon, right? Without the cards even showing me that. But my intuition was like, it may not look like marriage in the way you think.
Yeah.
But spirit is calling it that. So that's where both of them come in. So I'm able to channel in the energy from spirit, and then I'm able to understand it in my own way from my intuition. And sometimes when you're clairaudient, you may hear things like show references or TV references, and it makes no sense. And you go somewhere and the song's playing. And you're like, oh shit. Like, what is that?
That's a clairaudient thing.
Yeah. It's clairaudient. I mean, it could be like, I call these intuitive nudges. That's my name for it. Spirit sends people into your life or little Easter eggs into your life. And it could be a song somewhere playing. You could see it in a dream, or it could be a person telling you. But for me, it comes through clairaudiently for the most part. And it makes sense as music because I'm a dancer. So it's like my spirit team, my guardian angels are, somebody's listening to me. Somebody knows. Yeah, but I have clairaudient friends. And my clairaudient friends are different things. They may only hear from spiritual guides. Some people may hear from other passed on loved ones. Not all the time. You have to put up a boundary with yourself and these things. And then they channel in these energies or these entities as well. So it's like in between mediumship, but not really. But it's ability to hear other things. I like to call it like, it's like a radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a radio. It really is. And it's not hearing in a sense where someone is talking in your ear. It honestly sounds like if you turned on this radio right now, it sounds like someone turns on a radio and then it goes off.
And you have to listen.
And you don't have to listen. No, that's where the boundary comes in.
Okay, I got you.
No, you just say, I don't want to hear anything. No, thank you. And then depending on, there's many things that go into this, which is why most mediums when they're places, have you ever seen those mediums in the car shows?
Yeah.
It's like,
I love that shit.
It's like, you are with a lot of dead people. And it's because they probably practice mediumship so much, or they are like heavier energies around them, or they're open to that. When you're clairaudient, like I said, you don't have to be a medium. Once you go into mediumship, you open yourself up to larger channeling, bigger energies coming towards you, the dead coming towards you, depending where it is. Clairaudient, you could just hear a spirit and be like,
okay.
Moving on.
Moving on. And it sounds like flutters. So that's why schizophrenia sounds like a person, or people think it's a person or a thing. So I'll tell you OG stuff, right? So when I first started reading tarot years ago, I was just like playing around. I'm very intuitive. I know everything. And I have a photographic memory.
I believe you.
Like,
no, like it sounds like bullshit on a podcast, but like I know and believe you.
Full faith there.
So I obviously have things to learn. I cannot possibly know every little detail, but I'm a know-it-all. Give me all the information, and I'm like, shh, give it to me. And I remember things all the time, right? And I have a photographic memory, so I can visualize where I was when I was like 8. I never thought I was gifted, okay? At all. And then I started reading tarot because I was like going through things. And I was like, I want to get a reading.
Guidance.
And I was like, this doesn't sound right. I'm going to teach myself. So I taught myself how to read it. And then one day I was shuffling with my friend and it was like, hola. And I was like, girl, you speaking? And she was like, I'm not saying anything. and it's like, hola, me. It was like Spanish,
right.
but she wasn't talking. So I was like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Like, and then it was like, mi abuela. I was like, yo, girl, I think this is your grandma. Like, and I was really like trippy. I was tripping out. And it was just little flutters. It wasn't like a loudspeaker, but I could like hear it. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm crazy. I'm insane. And then after that, I was like, girl, she's like, that was my grandma that passed on. Yeah. Like, cause I decided to listen. You don't have to. But I was like, who is this? Like, not like that. But I was like, hello?
Yes.
Like, yes? And she's like, oh, no, hello. Can you hear me? I was like, it shouldn't be. Like, yeah. So it was so freaky. And
this was like this is like a first time? Or before that you don't really...
I was just a baby tarot reader. So I was reading for a while. But this was like my first reading with a friend. I read for like family practicing. I read for my partner at the time practicing. I'm single now, but back then. And then that was the first time I read for a person and their spiritual guide had come in.
Is that the first time you like had like a clairaudient experience? Oh wow, okay.
And then so I have a medium that I read with that channels in my spiritual team for me. And it's been years. I've known her for like 4 years or something. And I went to her. I was like, hey, something just happened to me. And I don't think it felt really real. And my friend, what she heard was like, oh yeah, that's my grandma. Like, I don't know her grandma. Like, and she was like, oh yeah, like you can just hear. I was like, hear what? Hear who? And I know this is a very long answer.
Don't say that so casually.
But,
No, this is exactly what I was asking.
But as a medium, what did she can hear? But I didn't know that. I didn't know what it was, right? So I went, long story short, that's how I found out. Yeah, and then I learned how to use it. I learned how to tweak it. I learned how to tailor it. I learned how to understand when I need it, when I don't, over like the 4 or 5 year span. So it's not easy. And it is very scary. But I could have been paranoid. I could have been schizophrenic. I could have been like that. I'm not schizophrenic, right? So channeling that in is very difficult sometimes because it can sound like you, right?
Got you.
But it's not you. And then if you can hear from your left or right side. I hear on my left side only, thankfully. The right side is these otherworldly beings, like passed on energies, things like that. I don't want to know who passed on. Like
that's a boundary you've set.
Yeah,
gotcha.
That's a boundary I've set. Also, I don't think it's meant for me. Some people may not be able to hear on both sides and things like that. But I did a lot of research about this.
Just on the internet. You were like, what's going on?
No. This is where the spiritual practice came in. I was praying because I pray a lot to God and my spiritual team. And I was like, can you guide people to me and align me with people who can help me? Okay. And then Easter eggs, random people saying stuff to me, guided into metaphysical stores, people in there talking to me. Me wind up in a little chat. The Andrea, the medium, her randomly online at that time when I needed somebody. And me trusting my intuition was understanding that okay, I'll listen to you. Okay, I'll talk to you. Okay, I've always had a strong sense of self. So my intuition guides me through everything. But when it comes to something like that, I was very scared. And my family is not this way. Like, they're not tarot readers. They're not like how I am. And they don't even understand it. So it was also breaking apart from telling to people trying to tell me, this is not real. This is fake. This is that. I was like, well, 11,000 people think it's real. Like, you know,
some validity here.
Well, also, it's real for you. It's your experience. So it shouldn't matter.
But they wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy. And by crazy definition, clinically crazy. Because we're all a little, little eccentric here. But yeah, so that's where that came from. So intuitively, I was able to decipher what was me and what isn't. So I almost never channel from my intuition. Sorry, y'all. Because me and spirit go together real bad. Gotcha. Like, but you guys, I'm going to steal your show for a minute. Both of you channel from your intuition, especially you.
Oh, yeah.
Especially him.
Especially
them.
which comes from spirit, which is an intuitive download. If I wasn't hearing, it's the same thing. I also receive messages that way, but it's I prefer not to because it's like either you're gonna talk to me or you're gonna send it to me. Like which one? And spirit will be like da, 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 and then and I'm like,
you see, it's a different.
No, choose one or the other. So when I go into places, I say I want to hear this clairaudiently. And then I'll
set the intention.
Set the intention.
Okay.
And then I'll be like, with the cards, I'm like, okay, I'm going to receive everything intuitively now. And I can do that. But you have to know, like, your spirit team. But you receive messages intuitively.
That's why I asked very curiously before about, like, your connection with, like, music and having something in your head and then having it exist in your space.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
That happens to me way too often.
Okay, follow-up question for both of you. Do you think it's ever a coincidence if a random song pops into your head?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because that happens to me all the time.
Not. Yeah.
Part of me sometimes believes that, like, I'm emotionally in a space. So I might think of a song that, like,
Relates
has a message in it that I need to hear in that moment.
Yeah.
But then I'll go outside my house, go to the park, and then suddenly there's this one person playing it on loop on their speaker in the middle of the park. That's weird. Like, that's not.
So it's an intuitive nudge.
Yeah, that's why I was curious.
Intuitive nudging. Spirit speaks in mysterious ways throughout, especially if you're practitioners with spirit. So with spirit, meaning your spiritual guides, your angels, your ancestors, those beings of light. I was not going to say that. See, look at that. That was an intuitive.
Yeah.
I was not going to say that. I was going to just say people that watch over you. But they would say all beings of light that walk with you, guide you in this world. If you're open to it, they will send you intuitive downloads, intuitive nudges. And it's not just in songs stuff. It's in people. Like me. Like me. Hello. In and outside of a reading. It doesn't happen for Natalia, you, or Abby. But in my life, because I think you guys are very aligned with your spirit teams. And you also, I know you said you're having issues trusting your intuition sometimes.
Ooh, often.
But you are more trustworthy than most people. Because I have been used as a unfortunate intuitive vessel for people the past couple months. And what it's been looking like is like, hey girl, hey, how you doing? You was in my dream last night. This is where I'm clairvoyant. What? Yeah, are you moving? You moving. And it's like, I had a dream where you was this is from my coworker. And we're not that close. We're just coworkers. I had a dream of her and we were in the hallway at an open, like, what is it? Housewarming. Okay. Dinner, welcoming. I was like, hey girl, down the hallway. I do not live near her, nor I do not know where she lives. It was an intuitive nudge to let her know from spirit that she's going to get the apartment. And she did.
All right.
And then my intuition told me, when I told her this, I was like, you're going to see 111 before you get the apartment. And so she had been seeing it everywhere. So I'm utilized sometimes in the dream realm. Like, I'm like, I had a dream about someone last night, a client of mine. And she was, before I went to sleep, I looked at her picture. I was like, I got to be careful. I looked at a picture of her online on my phone and fell asleep. She was in my dream with her mother. I don't know this person besides outside of readings. And it was something about her mom and blah, blah. So I messaged her today. I was like, hey, is this going on? And she was like, no, but she suspects this. I said, well, she knows. I do not know that woman, but she is someone that is a client of mine that may be into spirituality or into religion, and she's ignoring her intuition, and she needed a little nudge. Yeah, and I could choose not to say anything, right? I could write the dream down or whatever. Some people may not be reciprocal to knowing.
Right.
I have
people.
You know? Yeah, how do you know? Right? So I shared these things, these intuitive nudges or downloads on Threads. The trippiest thing was I was on live. I was like, I dreamt of a woman, a Caucasian woman with brown hair. She was in the street, super pregnant. And think Desperate Housewives. That type of vibes.
Oh, okay.
I live in Manhattan, okay? Like, it's not the vibes over there. And it was like, where were they? Connect, wherever they were, rural area, right? And I was like, do you need help? In my dream, do you need help? Do you need help? And she was like, I feel so overwhelmed. She was so scared. So I was on my live and this woman comes on and she's like, oh, I'm pregnant. Can you tell me what I'm having? I was like, what do you look like? Because her energy felt like the woman in my dream. But I never met her, ever. But these are things that happen to me. So collectively, they'll be for the larger collective, or they'll be for this. So this is clairvoyance. I know we weren't talking about that, but who would I be if I didn't already know that we were going to talk about it? Like, so it could happen to you soon. I'm not reading you, but it could happen to you soon, where those downloads you receive will start to be for others around you, for people as you grow and develop. You come into things like that. Yeah.
All right.
And you don't have to share it, but you can.
And it's a practice makes perfect thing, just like the rest of it, or
it's never going to be perfect.
Right.
It's never going to be perfect.
More like trusting what you do with it.
Yeah, it's trusting what you do with it. Trusting, like, owning that this is who you are. Not everybody's going to receive you well, right? Sometimes it's hard. I have to keep things to myself, which is why I have a community of friends that, I have my regular friends. And by regular friends, I mean non-spiritually inclined friends. And then I have spiritual friends.
Yeah.
And our conversations are not the same.
I can imagine.
That's my other friends. Like,
I cherish the spiritual people in my life. I'm like,
I
only
do
you
too.
would understand this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, and then my friends are readers too. And very blessed readers. They have gifts from clairvoyant to dreams to clairsentience, like different things, claircognizance, like, and so I'll go to them too, even me. Hey girl, there's something I've been picking up and I think I'm crazy. I'm not gonna give you any details. This is what I just need to know for clarity. Girl, the whole thing, I'm like, confirmation. Like, yeah, so even I have issues sometimes trusting things, so it's not gonna be perfect. So I have friends that can help me, right? Like me. Like, again, I'm your friend, right?
There you go.
Feeling informed?
No, sorry. I was being told, like, yeah, these nudges, now you might be getting it for other people. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's another nudge. I don't know if it's true, but if it happens, let me know.
I will let you know.
Let me know.
Because I have been getting nudges in many directions for a lot of the people in my life, and how I can be.
Now. Why did you say that?
Because
you got me over here looking like I just made it up.
You preface the entire conversation with be like, some people use me. I'm just like, don't use.
Yeah, and by use me, I mean they're spirit teams, not them.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Good distinction.
They're spirit teams. I'm being used by their spirit teams, and my spirit team is like, no, thank you, never mind. Like. Yes.
Sometimes I feel like I try so hard to listen and either nothing comes through or my listening is just not good.
We talked about this before.
Yeah.
We did.
I'm getting a little bit more like the quieter I can, or like the more centered I can be. But I know, like I can feel that I have these light beings around me, but I have a hard time recognizing the signs.
So you're so protected. It's crazy, right? So when you read tarot, if you're an energy reader, which most people with clairvoyant gifts, clairsentient, clairaudient gifts are energy readers. Clairaudience a little more like spiritual energy and not people energy. But if you're an empath, right, which I am, unfortunately.
What is your opinion on that? Like, you kind of have to be an empath to some degree.
No.
Okay.
You can be. Okay. Yes.
I'm sure they go hand in hand for some people.
Because I've heard a lot of conversations about like clairvoyance or like clairaudience. I'm speaking out of my ass when I'm saying like those terms interchangeably. But things along those lines are just like really deep empathy to the point where you're empathizing with energy.
So like before I knew I was any C gifted, let's call them the C's, right?
All the C's.
All the C's. Before I knew that, I'm very empathic. I'm very sensitive. I'm very compassionate. I almost desensitize myself because I care too much. And I'm like, you did not deserve me to care. Like so that's me putting a guard up. But I'm such a sweet child. Like I was a crier as a kid. At movies, at everything. That's quite empathic. When you're like crying at movies and TV shows, that's a sign to know. And that's a gift in itself. And most empaths are the best clairvoyant people are the best clairaudient people because they have this sincerity to read your energy, to read your emotions, right? Before you speak, it's like, are you all right? Like, are you okay? And it's like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not. How did you know? I could tell. I could feel it. So that's where clairsentience comes in, because it's like empath on steroids, basically. It's like empathic downloads in a space, around a person, around this, around that. Like empath to the 3rd degree. That's what that is. And it's so interesting because, like, as an empath, like when you read tarot, I almost feel like you need to be, like, when you read tarot, like, to be an empath. Yeah, but you don't need to be clairaudient.
Okay.
It's almost,
maybe that was a better
clairaudience, like a reciprocal. It's the sound of it all, right? It's nothing attached to that. It's the sound of it all. When you start feeling the energy, that's when the empath comes into it. When you're like, there's no one there, by the way. But it's like, there is someone there. And you're like, no, it's not. I'm like, yes, it is. I can feel it radiating around me. Like, that's when you start, when the emotions comes like that.
So then how does being protected is the term you use for me. How does that impact your ability to tune into that kind of
So
thing?
I wouldn't say I'm an expert on this, but I can tell from reading people how protected they are and how easy it is to read them. Some people are very hard to read. But for Abby, and I'll talk generally, but for Abby, she's not hard to read. She should not be read. And it is a privilege to anyone who's trying to tap into her energy. That is what I was stopped with. I was like, yeah, what is going to... Who are you? And I was like...
I see.
Who? Which guardian angel was that? Like, I'm like, I am a friend. Are you? We know her friend. Like, who is that? Like, they didn't say that, but that was like the energy. And I was like, okay, let me try again. And then they finally were like, okay, do you want us to tell you something? Or are you using the cards to see? And so that she's so protected by her spiritual team. I don't even know who they are. I could find out, but I don't think they would have told me, to be honest. Like, I don't think they would have said anything.
The one piece of spiritual advice I've gotten many times from many different spiritual sources is to be very careful who I sit in ceremony with. And I've always wondered if that's because my team is like sus of everyone.
Yes, not necessarily, right?
I'm privileged now. I didn't realize how privileged I was.
So I don't want to say too much because I can't give you I can't cite this source.
All right.
Okay. This source is from another place. Okay. I can't. People can be like, where's she? How's she know? What I'm going to say is an intuitive thing. Abby is important.
Oh,
I would agree.
The life, don't start spirit. Don't start just me now. Just me. She's important. I'm not going to say that. You see, I'm trying to let my intuition flow, and it's like the journey she's living. Like, yeah, already hearing it. No, so I think you're important, me, and I feel like the work that you're doing is not. I'm trying to say it without any influence from the other side. Like, you're just important, and the work that you're doing is special and really important, and nobody's supposed to know. Nobody's supposed to know. And if they do know, why are they supposed to know, right? And it's like, so it's like she's protected like that. And so I was gonna say that most of us have like a life plan. We don't know what it is, whatever, where our passions are. And some of us, like, think Beyonce. Okay.
I'm thinking
I don't
Beyonce.
know Mrs. Carter. I don't know her. I want to know her. But Beyonce is heavily protected, right? I'm not reading her at all, by the way. I could just tell. She's been guided by God or, her angels, whatever it is for her, to do what she needs to do. Right? We don't need to read to know that that woman is protected by a higher power, right? Because of her path, because of what she's supposed to be doing. Obviously, she's so protected, and she thanks God. Oh, thank you, God, for protecting me. Thank you, God, for protecting me. Thank you. But she's so protected. Let somebody try to read Beyonce. Let them See what happened. Like, that's just me saying that, okay? Not spirit. But it's similar. There are people like that. So in our case, you know, spiritual guides or whatever, since we're into that realm, you're very protected by your spiritual guides because not everybody is supposed to have the privilege of knowing you on that level unless you want to. And I'm flattered. Like, I'm like, yeah, there was stand watch.
I'm very glad that I met you and that you came into my path, because I think that was what I needed, was another person to be like, this stuff is real. At that time when I met you, like, this stuff is real and this is what it looks like. And I think that's what I needed to hear.
Yeah. And so, you know, we're all people. We're not invincible. Like, that's not what it means. But it just means some people have a passion to be in the forefront, right? Or to instill change in others, or to be public figures for, you know, people can be public figures at any point at this point in life. But some people are meant to be like that. Their art is meant to instill feelings or make them feel things. And those people need to be protected. Can we protect them for everything? No. Those people need to be protected. So when you're going into, your creativity comes from inside. When I'm tapping into your energy, it's like, hell no. Did she say you could do this? What do you need to know about Abby? Or is Abby asking you? Like, that's how it was, you know. Comedians.
My guys are so rude.
Yeah. They were not rude. They were like,
serious.
German, or what are they? Jewish.
Yeah, it might have been.
Oh, both. Are they German and Jewish?
German Jewish on one side, yeah.
Exactly. Right. And what are the history of those people? Yeah. Try again, right? And then, you know, it's funny. I read for someone else. I won't say where. I'll keep it confidential. But when I read for him, it was meant to be a tarot reading for my intuition, because I didn't want to show my skills. I didn't want to scare the boy. You know, that, like, pretty scary shit, you know? And
you get wild.
He's Jewish. And his ancestors were like, oh, hello. I was like, oh, here we go again with the protective
Jewish people.
Like, yes. Like, and that was the second time I had experienced that, where it was like, you feel that they're on guard. And me, I'm very protected. Try to read me if you want to, like, you know, and people, anyone can get a tarot reading. You can ask questions about it, but tapping into me.
Yeah.
It's like, I call my spirit team my spiritual armed guard. I call them that. Yeah. I'm not going to say how I know, but they're just, I'm hearing we're not a neighborhood watch, but that's, see,
what are
it's
they,
pretty
though?
like, yeah, they don't play. Like, yeah, they're making sure I stay on my P's and Q's. And because I'm so open to it now, you know, before I wasn't open to it, so I'd be seeing 111 everywhere or 555 everywhere. And I was like, this number keep following me. And then it was in a dream, and I was like, what is this? I don't care. They're like, oh, well, she's staying asleep. She's not having an awakening now. But I was meant to awaken to this world, to this life, because it was one of my passions, or it was going to be.
Yeah,
right.
I feel
so
that.
they protected me from certain things, or tried to push me through things to get me into that space. But I had to listen. Right. So we all could be protected, but that doesn't mean we are listening. So the other part of protection I want to talk about is like crystals and metaphysical stuff, right? I am not a crystal person, okay? I have crystals, but I'm not like oh yes, every room is crystals. No, I have a child. Crystals are a really good way as an empath that I have found to protect my energy a lot from everything. Crystals, amethyst, citrine, rose quartz, smoky quartz, tourmaline. These are things that would stabilize my energy from others, not entities, but people. And these are things you can use for protection as well. So if you don't know who your spiritual guides are, if you're not tapped in, is what it's called, you're not practicing anything, you have God, of course, if you believe in God, if that's that kind of thing. But what else can you do? Oh, I'm feeling really sad around people. People might be draining your energy. You might be really empathic, right? So crystals are a great way to protect yourself from there. I'm not going to get into the crystal process. I'm not a crystal person, like, but
get yourself some rocks. Yeah, well, I was meditating recently, and I have shungite that I use to meditate with, because I've heard that it helps with meditation, and it cracked. while I was meditating, which I'm sure has some kind of significance.
So you didn't need it, or the energy was too heavy for it?
It might have been too heavy because I think I use it a lot and I don't cleanse it. So that was my assumption, was that it needed a break.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So I had a bracelet. I used to wear them at work because I work my full-time job. I work in HR. And I'm also like the front face of a lot of work I do. A lot of people around me. And nothing negative. Everyone's great.
But you do need to cleanse the energy.
Actually, where I work, a lot of people are very spiritually inclined. I was like, did I end up here by accident? Everyone loves astrology. People love tarot readings. I'm with my people over there. But I still needed something because it's a lot of emotions, right? So I had like a tourmaline, smoky quartz tourmaline bracelet. And it broke at work. Ooh. And I was like, what the heck is going on in here? And I was just like, okay, you know what? Never mind. So I don't wear crystals anymore. Mm-hmm. I do sleep with them. I do.
Under the pillow kind of thing?
Under my pillow. I cleanse them
You're not
often.
just sleeping on rocks.
Abby, I cleanse them often.
How do you cleanse?
So it's a couple ways. So
use some moon water?
No, I don't. I'm falling off my game with the moon water, you know?
It's not easy in the city being a witch, I have to say.
Yeah, so I consider myself a magician and not a witch.
Excuse me.
All right.
Right? Because there's nothing wrong with saying that, but I am magical without any spells or any type of thing. Like, I'm a manifester on steroids. Like, I say something, it's like that. Like, you know... Everything I do, I put magic into it, right? I also pray a lot. Like I'm not Christian, but I was raised Christian. Mm-hmm. So I'm Christian adjacent. And a lot of my work, when I pray over things, I'm like, oh, okay. I'll talk about that later. I know we were going to talk about like holistic or alternative ways of doing things. But there was a lotion that I needed to heal something. And I said a certain prayer over it and it healed something. And I was like, okay now. So with my crystals, I'll do like that. I'll say like a prayer over it. Okay. And then I will cleanse it with smoke. Mm-hmm. But I don't use sage.
What are you using these days?
I'm a frankincense and myrrh person.
All right.
Heavy stuff. The big guns.
I like that.
The big guns.
Going
yeah.
to the roots.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's I cleanse it like that. And then I leave it in the windowsill. You
allow it to absorb some light.
To absorb it, yeah.
Cool.
But I should cleanse it with water and salt. My son hates the frankincense, or Palo Santo is another thing I use. I stopped using sage because, smell not for me. That was the only reason.
Palo Santo has a beautiful smell.
It's so sexy.
Yeah. It
is so sexy. Sexy. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Palo Santo does have a little bit of a weird nostalgia because there's a large studio in Manhattan, Electric Lady, which was Jimi Hendrix's studio when he was alive. And a part of your job when working there is you walk through the entire building with Palo Santo. So the smell of Electric Lady is Palo Santo.
It's so sexy.
It's a good smell, though.
Every time I light it, I want to put on Stevie Nicks' Dreams. I just want to. The song, I think that song was a Palo Santo or whatever. Something was lit during that song.
Oh, yeah.
Something was lit during that song.
Something. And that's my favorite thing to use. But because I read tarot and I'm in my home, I use frankincense and myrrh. Myrrh smells terrible.
Good to know.
I don't know if I recall what myrrh smells like.
You don't want to smell it.
I'm good then.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it just smells like heavy smoke. Frankincense smells amazing.
All right.
Frankincense resin.
I know the smell of frankincense because I know what a church smells like.
Yeah, it smells amazing. So sometimes I'll just use that. I'll let it just go through my space, and then I'll put the rocks through it. But those are very important things to do when you're practicing anything. Cleansing, and protecting. Also, last layer of protection, herbs and oils.
Oh, I love oils.
Herbs
I got my
and
tea
oils.
tree.
Yeah. Herbs and oils. Like I said, I was raised Christian. So the form of protection is anointing with a blessed oil, right? With that, my mother used to rub us down with stuff. Like my grandmother, she had holy oil. Now, I don't have holy oil. I'm away from the church. But, I make my own oils. Mm-hmm. You know, I look up the properties of herbs first. Like, I'm not randomly choosing herbs, and I'll use this like for protection as well. So it's like lavender, different things like that can bring you good energy when you're there. And it infused in my lotions. Like, so everything I do, lotions, oils are really good. Oh, people sleep on oils.
People do sleep on oils.
Oils can do a lot of stuff.
Don't sleep on your oils,
Don't
folks.
sleep in oils.
Don't sleep in them. But yeah. I also buy hoodoo oils.
All right.
I buy hoodoo oils.
Like jojoba? Is that a hoodoo oil?
So hoodoo is a practice. Yeah. That's a magical practice. A magical and a Christian practice together. So hoodoo is the ancestral magic of enslaved African Americans that's dated back to the South, right? But it has West African properties. But it was using the Bible to create magic. So a lot of hoodoo people are root workers. There's no spell casting with that. That's why I was like, you can't really call me a witch.
I guess that's fair.
But some people who do hoodoo are witches, though.
Gotcha.
But for me, I'm not really into one type of thing. That's why I'm like, call me a magician. But I love hoodoo oils. So it's like anointing times 2, basically. And they all have different types of herbs in them or roots in them. And the different oils do different things. There's different saints attached to them. So it has Christian properties, but it's not Christianity. It was like, think of slaves being taught something and they're like, this is not ours. Yeah. Well, let's use this with what we know. Gotcha. And then that's what it was created, right? I love hoodoo so much. I'm not a hoodoo priestess, but I love hoodoo a lot. There's so many things to learn about it. I am African American, so I feel very close with it. And these oils I buy from Art of the Root. I'm gonna plug them, by the way.
Do it.
Yeah, Art of the Root. I love them. Anyone could use them. So hoodoo's a closed practice, but you can buy hoodoo oils and use them, and they're amazing. I'm telling you, I put one on today, and there was something happening, and it was crazy, and I didn't even feel it. I was like,
Okay.
So anyway, those are for protection. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I've been lacking in the oil game.
Yes, get into the oils.
So maybe I'm missing that.
You know what? I'm going to give you an intuitive nudge again. I feel like you use a spray.
I use a spray.
You would use a spray?
I would use a spray. Okay.
Yeah. Like on yourself or in your house.
Okay.
Yeah. Like a protection spray.
Will deeply be considered.
Yeah.
Speaking of nudges, do we want to get into our tarot portion of today's podcast? Welcome back.
Before anything happens, I'm just pressing record. So
we are practically happy with Raser and Rhodes, and today with the fabulous Mel, who is about to give us a fabulous tarot reading.
I'm about to give you the camera angle for. There we go.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
We were talking about this before the podcast. If there is a tarot reading of any of the Practically Happy podcasts that you should be sure to stay tuned for,
it's this one.
It would be this one.
So, collectively, I want to ask Spirit, what does the audience...
Maybe we let that pass for a moment.
Welcome to New York City.
New York City can once again be heard on Practically Happy.
So I want to ask Spirit, what does the collective need to know about living in their truth and switching into their passion career-wise or starting a passion, right? Yeah. I'm going to use some cards and then I'll try to see what Spirit says, channel in some energy. All right. Should I put the mic down?
You can.
While you're working, yeah absolutely.
Okay. Can we? Oh, you're going to hold it. Okay. All right. All right. So for creativity purposes, these are so little.
I like men in the cards.
So spirit, angels, and guides of the collective for Practically Happy. Whoever watches this, views this episode, views this podcast, any episode, what do they need to know to shift themselves into owning their power and trusting their passion and going into doing what you love to do creatively? What do they need to know? Okay. Just blind shuffling. I love that. Okay. So I think these are actually upright, but they're coming up like that. So we have the King of Wands, the Magician, the Page of Wands. This one. I already know what this is saying without seeing it. So we have the Three of Cups at the bottom of the deck. I'm going to start and then I'll let Spirit speak. So essentially, like, all of us, I'm going to put myself in this, are being placed in spaces with others and coming into terms with who we should be speaking to. Our friendships are changing. Our interpersonal relationships are changing. And we're being pushed into these spaces to, I don't want to say soul tribe, but being with those that are aligned with our passion and what we want to do. So that's what the Three of Cups speaks to. But we're also supposed to be enjoying it. We're supposed to be enjoying ourselves while doing this, gaining experiences, going through life. This is from Spirit now. Gaining experiences, going through life, being reciprocal to other worldly things like us, other beings of light. We can start over and we can say that before she starts speaking, this is not new for us. This is what we're coming in to see for all of you too. We're coming to say that you need to be careful of who you speak with, who you spend your time with, I feel like I want to cry when I say that. So somebody, not me, but someone may feel like they need to hear that. Like I was waiting to hear if my friends were okay or whatever. You're being moved into new spaces and you have to leave others behind. That's the emotional part of it. And this is because you're not enjoying yourself where you are in the collective. You're not enjoying yourself where you are. So the Page of Wands is here in reverse, meaning that some of you have been really interested in doing these things for a while, but you haven't looked towards it because others have told you shouldn't. Others have told you that you can't. I'm hearing there a misbelief of it or disbelief. Was it disbelief of it? But Spirit is saying we're trying to separate you. So align yourself with those who are for you. And that's just it. That's just it from us. Thank you. Come back though. I'm not done.
That's just it.
That's just it.
That's it.
Mic drop.
And we're done.
Then we have, I'm reading it out of order. Usually I would read it from past, present, future, but I feel like I should read it out of order now. So the 10 of Wands in reverse, like we're not supposed to be working too hard. And I don't mean don't work. I mean, we're supposed to be like feeling so well while we're doing what we want to do, right? So we're not supposed to be dreading life. We're not supposed to be going through life and just hating everything we're doing just to make ends meet. Ooh. So it's like you want to make ends meet, do something that can correlate you and pay you and compensate you to make ends meet, right? The power struggles are over, right? I'm hearing a paradigm shift. And I don't feel like that's coming from Spirit. It's coming from one of y'all.
I mean,
like, that's our line.
The byline of the podcast was to shift a paradigm. So, I mean, that's about as clear.
Hello, my name is Mel and I'm clairaudience.
That's about as clear as that connection can be.
The paradigm shift. You want to speak now, Spirit? Yeah. The shift that she was coming into saying is that this is one that we're guiding you to speak with them because we want them to say that the shift in the paradigm is cruising through yourself and honoring and not devouring yourself and such other things that don't make sense. That's from Spirit. Which one of my Spirit team said that? It's so wise.
I'm personally very curious about who said that.
I don't know who said that, but it's from the collective, so it could just be many Spirit teams actually. But yeah, I received that and it's true. So I was guided here to speak because others needed to hear that it's time for a shift in general, collectively, not just in this podcast or this, like Abby said this before in his confirmation. Many people are shifting to do things they want to do that they love and they're getting compensated for it now. Yeah. And they're no longer like suffocating under certain things. So continue doing that, right? So there is someone here that's going to be guided into somebody's life or is already there. And this person feels the same way like you do. This specific person. It is a masculine energy, but it doesn't have to be. And this person inspired you to start over for yourself and to see yourself as someone who can envision a life for them where they can do what they're passionate about without having to struggle so much. Just doing things that make sense. Going with the flow of it all. This person lives their life like that. So some of you might be inspired by a celebrity or an influencer or a friend or a man you used to date or a person you used to date.
A man you used to date?
Or a non...
Oh. Whoa.
A man you used to date.
Oh.
For the ladies that like men. Or a person you used to date.
I heard
Today.
I heard sedate and was very concerned.
No concerns. Yeah. This person inspiring you and pushing you forward and making you see things for yourself can come true if you just choose to believe it. So you choose to believe you can. I'm not working at McDonald's anymore. Hypothetically, this is the vibes. I hate it here. But you found something fell in your lap where you're getting McDonald's pay. I don't know who works at McDonald's, but you're getting McDonald's pay and you're making more. Now, the last two cards I want to pay attention to are the Magician. I'm holding it up. The Magician. The King of Cups. There's another person coming in your life that will share new spaces with you, and they will be in alignment with who you are now in the passion you're in now. Think of your forever friend or your forever partner. So for some of you, this looks like a business partner, a life partner, or a person that you just fall into your lap. They're going to push you even further into your passion, and they're going to align you with the last, I'm hearing last track. So you're like on this, oh my God, track, like a train. So this is an analogy. So we're all cruising. We're all on the same line, riding the same train. Like New York City analogy. We're riding the same train. We're going the same way. We're getting off at different stops. Where we're stopping, we're meeting people at these stops. And each person is going to push us further into our destination, which is into our passion. Spirit is so funny. Like, they heard one thing. Maybe that wasn't an accident. Maybe
it really wasn't.
Just timing of it all. So the World card is in reverse. There's never going to be enough for you. Never enough for you to do or say in one setting. So you don't have to rush through this. This is creatively working, by the way. Like people who, they deadlines, right? They feel like I need to do this today. I need to do that today. There's no urgency with this.
Yeah.
This is who you are. This is where you're supposed to be going. This is all Spirit needs to say. Do it. Go, let it flow, and be present. Be there with these people. You're supposed to be there with them. Cruising, different places, going to different places, in different rooms, different settings, aligning with who you're supposed to really be and what you're supposed to be doing. And that's it. So it's a lot there. And it may not take what resonates. It may not resonate for everyone, but I think it does.
I like that journey, yeah.
In this case, I think this is very specific.
So it points a lot towards surrounding yourself with the people that you need or the people that you meet and you feel bring you towards your higher self or best good.
Yeah. And it's giving soul tribe vibes, but it's not that small. Like, because some people might just be at the train stop. They might just be there.
Yeah.
And you might just be at that stop for now, doing what you got to do, learning something, picking something up. And then you never know who's at the next train stop, right? And then some people will be on the train with you and they're never getting off. And some people just along the way. Bridges, right, that you need to take. And you know what's funny is this is specifically for a creative bunch. So I'm assuming that everyone watching the podcast wants to lean into things that they want to do in theory, right? It doesn't have to be art, but things they want to create for themselves, new opportunities, new spaces. A lot of working on your own terms, but still earning a living kind of thing. Yeah. Very cool.
Exactly.
Very cool.
The last time we did a community reading, I think it was in our brighter sides of creative pursuit. we did a community reading about what someone gains by leaning more into their passions and taking on their pursuits of the heart rather than things that you necessarily need to do to make ends meet. And the conclusion we came to was like family and like community and the people you meet along the way.
How ironic.
So, this reading resonates very highly with the same exact sentiment.
That's a good thing because that means that the paradigm shift is collective and it's staying like that. So the energy is consistent. And this is what we're all shifting into, right? In general. But I say this, so a lot of people say, I'm not going to get very deep, but a lot of people say the world is ending, right? Yeah. I never say that. Right. I say the world is cleansing.
Oh,
right?
I like that. It's got some frankincense.
Right? That's how frankincense. Literally.
Our current model of the world is ending.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Being cleansed.
I don't mean the earth. That's not my business. I don't know. I mean, people say like everything is different, everything is changing. I hate it here. Like the world as we know it is ending and blah, blah, blah. And some people aren't happy about that. But I say it's cleansing. It's getting rid of things, wallowing it out, starting fresh, waking up people, getting rid of everything, leaving you with just what you are, right?
Absolutely.
And then what's next? Friendships.
Yeah.
And what do you really prioritize?
People, yeah.
Like, what are you really prioritizing, right? You know, and everybody around the world is different. But I feel like collectively is the same thing. More people want to say stuff. I'm like, where did all the podcasts come from? when did this happen? Like, when it used to be syndicated radio, what happened, right? Because everybody has a lot to say.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new stories to hear.
Well, thank you for sharing some of yours on our podcast.
Yeah. You're welcome.
This is Mel. You can find her at I am Mel with 3 underscores on Instagram.
Yes.
And we'll post all of our information.
All of your information will be under, but we'd also like to set the stage for you to shout out anything you want to shout out.
I don't know what else. I've been talking about myself for a while.
We want you on the podcast to talk about yourself. That's the point.
I'm working on it. No, nothing really. I'm doing some different things. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok. I shouted out earlier. I have a YouTube channel.
Ooh.
It's at Mel Davis, which is my name. So MELDAVIS. But this has been so cool. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to see it. Also nervous, but thank you. It's been nice.
Yeah, and I think I speak for our whole community here when I say that this has been a really awesome podcast having you on, and we're blessed to have you speak in this way so openly with us.
I hope everybody likes this episode. I hope you take something from the reading.
No, I'm just going to completely ignore a reading that you do at this point.
I got chills. I was like...
No, I'm actually completely closed off.
I'm glad this is recorded because I can now like listen back and like get chills again and be like, okay.
Send it to me so I can get chills.
Absolutely.
I don't remember what I said. I remember the last part because
this whole podcast was channel.
No, like imagine.
I would watch a podcast where it is just people purely channeling.
Chaos.
They leave the room not knowing what was said.
That would be really cool.
That'd be really cool, but also might be an invasion of that sort of very...
Well, you'd be channeling spirits that wanted to be known in a public format.
I guess that's true.
I'm sure there's plenty of them.
I'm sure. Okay. Not mine, apparently.
I'm sure there's plenty of them.
Mine apparently love to talk.
Like, I'm pretty sure my spirit team, hey, y'all. Hi. A bunch of them are Southern, so they'll be like, hey, woo, look at her. Go, girl. My family is very celebratory in each other. Yeah. So, that comes from a place. Our mothers, fathers, or whatever, right? So I see probably my grandmother somewhere like, yes, baby. Yes, girl. Woo! Go, girl. I don't know what this means, but you go, girl. Like, I see that for her. I see my spirit team. But, we are different than our teams as well. Because I'm sure a bunch of them would not be like on a podcast talking about their mystical processes or their prayer processes, like depending on life. But here we are.
And here we were.
This has been Practically Happy with Raser Rhodes and Mel.
Bye, everyone.
You need to start saying this is a Faraday cage. Production.
fucking podcast.